Oh boy, that is really coming on, man. Oh. Excuse me, I gotta actually blow my nose here.
Welcome to CRT Hot Ones. I'm John D'Antonio. This Colorado Gives Day, we're going to be putting our CRT loved ones on the hot seat for hot questions and even hotter wings. Today, you're in for a treat. I am joined by a Creede legend. You may know him as the Creede County Commissioner, or perhaps a CRT alumni, or one of our advisory board members, or just one of the most beloved people you'll ever meet. The one, the only, Scotty Lamb. Welcome, Scotty.
Thank you. Try to live up to that introduction.
I know you will. I know you will. No doubt about it. Oh, I forgot. I was going to say, and you might recognize him from the New York Times as well, that little thing.
Of course.
So tell me, first off, let's talk about hot food. I want to know what's your relationship. You love it? You hate it? Where are you? Somewhere in the middle? What's the relationship?
You know, there's kind of this family tradition with hot food. And it was started by my dearly departed older brother, and actually gross food. It's like see who could eat the grossest thing or the hottest thing, and so you know, I guess I've got a, what would you say, I've got maybe an arm's length relationship with hot food.
Yeah.
And apparently I'm able to tolerate it pretty well compared to other people that I've been at dinner with who had to, you know, quit before we were done. So we'll see.
Fantastic! I love this. We're gonna put it to the test then today.
Yeah, this array looks pretty intimidating, but we'll see how it goes.
You ready for this, round one?
Cheers.
Could you give us a little more detail around your relationship to Creede and to CRT? And I know we could probably talk for 3 hours about that, but sort of if you had to summarize it, tell us a little bit about your history.
My relationship with Creede begins decades ago. And I say that because I am 5th generation of my mother's side of the family that has lived in or near Creede. I say near Creede because my great-great-grandfather ran a stage station right after the Civil War, just a little bit upriver from Creede. And then his son, Dan Soward, his name was Franklin Soward, his son Dan Soward is the one who homesteaded the Soward Ranch. And then the lineage goes from there to my grandmother, Emma McCrone, and then to my mother, and then to myself. So is that 5? Let's see, Franklin, Dan, Emma, Margaret, Scotty, yeah, 5th generation. Man, and my relationship with the CRT began, as I've told you many times before, that being privileged to be in the audience that opening night of Mr. Roberts back in, what would that have been, 66? 66, yeah, I would have been 10 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And have been a theater fan ever since, and you know, have had the incredible honor of not only being a company member, but a board member. And you know, most summers I see every single show for sure, and some of them twice. Usually I pick a show that I like and watch it on opening night and occasionally throughout the season and on closing night, just to kind of be party to the evolution of the show, which is fascinating.
Nice.
For me to see.
Like any seasoned company member would understand as a acting alumni, which we'll talk about in a second. Why don't we dive into round 2 and then, okay, so I know you felt some of that magic on the stage yourself. So I mean, you might want to run us down the times that Scotty has been on the stage, but one of them I know is Hamlet in the early 2000s. Would love to hear about how that all came about.
It starts with me being in the children's show the summer before Hamlet. And the show that summer was Wiley and the Hairy Man. And Allison Quiller was Wiley, who's supposed to be a young boy living in the Louisiana swamps. And I was the Hairy Man, which was great because I got to wear this big bushy black wig, which I'm not sure, there was some history with that wig. It was a wig that Kate Berry had worn in some role or something. Anyway,
Okay.
I got to smear makeup all over my face. I mean, I was supposed to be pretty manky, I guess. Got to black out some of my teeth. It was great. I mean, you know, by the time I was in costume, I was in character. It was really, there was an instance of the costume really being helpful to the character. Anyway, it was great. Allison is so talented, and she and I had a certain chemistry, and that show was very well received. And the next spring, I was at a cocktail party with Maurice LeMay, Mo, as we all know him, who was the artistic director at that point in time. And I was kind of quizzing him about what the children's show was going to be. And he just kind of grinned, that grin of his, and he said, you know, he said, I know where you're going with this, Scotty. He said, we've actually got something different in mind for you. And I'm like, really, what? He said, well, how would you like to be in Hamlet with us? I was like, I'm going to have to think about that. I said, I'm going to have to think about that, Mo. And I said, that's a pretty big step. And anyway, I excused myself and went into the kitchen, probably smoked a cigarette or had a drink or something. I was like, what are you thinking about? Think about it. You've been offered a role in Hamlet at the CRT.
Pretty cool.
I immediately went back in there and said, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
And it was a struggle. I was out of my depth in Hamlet, I have to admit. And James Bonham was the director.
Okay.
And I had such a hard time with the intonations and the language. And James would say, you're saying it like this. And he said, I need you to say it like this. I'd be like, I don't hear any difference, James, I'm sorry. Anyway, we got into full rehearsal. What do you call that? I'm sorry, there's tech week and then there's full dress.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I think it was the night before opening, or the rehearsal before opening, I asked James if it might have been earlier on in tech week, I asked James if I could have an audience with him, and he said, sure, what's up? I said, you know, James, I just got to tell you, I said, I really hope that there's a difference between sucking and knowing that you suck and sucking and not knowing that you suck. I said, I just want you to know that I realize how bad I'm sucking in this role. And he looked at me, you know, he's like this highly respected, you know, just really genteel older man. And he thought for a second, he said, Scotty, he said, the best that I can give you is that you suck a little less every time. It's like, I'll take that. I'll take that. So well, that was the story of Hamlet.
I love that. Well, just know that Shakespeare has made every actor suck at some point, because that's the territory you're in. It's above all of us. So you know you're not alone in that realm.
This is the one I was told to beware.
We'll see if it lives up. As you know very well, the Creede community is essential, is very important to CRT. Similarly, I think CRT is very important to this community. It's a really cool relationship that's very unique, I think, for theaters. What I would love to hear from you, a person that has been integral to both the community and CRT. I want to hear about that dynamic from your perspective.
That's hot. That one is hot. Well, as I told the New York Times, you know, the theater is really, in my mind, is really responsible for kind of dragging Creede into the 21st century, or the 20th century rather, since its inception. But you know, it just introduced us to a wide range of people, you know, who had different ideas about things than us, and it took a while to build up the acceptance of that. But as we got to know the individuals who may have been black, they may have been gay, they may have been just different, and you know, you get to know those people on a one-on-one basis, and it's like, I've been misled about some things here, you know, because you know, Creede, not so much now as back in the early days. Well, that is really hot. And
take your time. Yeah,
it
throw it up
kinda
on that milk.
just keeps kind of coming on here. Conservative, you know, and you know, I'm not going to say anything derogatory about my beloved hometown, but we were in need of some enlightenment, and in my mind, the theater was at the forefront of that. Really, and in addition to the culture that it allowed us to avail ourselves of, you know, the great shows. Gosh, I've seen so many great shows here, really world class, and not that I maybe would know what world class is, but I have been to New York City once. I've seen a show on Broadway. Anyway.
And I'd say that's a two-way street. Like any company member coming in, we hope they are just as enlightened by their experience here and the people they're meeting and talking every day. And so, you know, hopefully everyone after a summer has just raised their bar, their own personal bar.
Yeah.
You know, it's in a cool way. So awesome. All right, round 4.
Sure. Well, that one's kind of making it hard to think, to be honest.
That's the idea, I think. Yeah, and I've got all these deep questions too, which is probably not helpful. They become what is known as a Creede Local. It's sort of a special status in a way. And I've heard things like you're not a Creede Local until you've spent your 3rd winter or something like that. From the guy born and raised, what makes a Creede Local?
For me personally, there's a group of people that I went to high school with in the 70s. And we were, you know, we were not all in the same grade, but we were all in high school together at some point in time. So when you consider the fact that that's over 4 years for me, there were certain people when I was a freshman that were seniors, and then people when I was a sophomore that were freshmen. Anyway, to me, those are the only Creede natives. I hate to be so, and it's not elitist, it's just that we shared an experience that was very unique, and anybody that didn't share that experience doesn't relate as well to some of the things that we say as we do.
Sure.
I think in general, I mean, the thing that I've heard, I guess, the most when people were asked that question is, your parents didn't, there's some funny story about somebody saying, you know, well, he's a Creede native, he was born here, and the person he was talking to said, yeah, but his parents weren't.
Mm-hmm. Right, there's always a...
You know, I kind of think that the general rule is if you're able to live here for a winter without having to run off to Mexico in February, you can be considered a local in my mind.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, I'm canceling my Mexico trip. All right, so by the way, you don't even seem phased, so I'm loving this. How much you were just taking these.
Well, that one wasn't quite as bad, to be honest.
No worries, don't worry. It's all a false sense of security as we head to the final one. It's there. Feeling that at all? There's something there.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Colorado Gives Day coming up, December 7th. You got $1 million. Let's say you had to give to a nonprofit. I don't know, in the Colorado area. Where might you donate some of those funds?
Well, obviously to the CRT. I mean, that's the obvious answer, and it you know.
What impact would you like to see with those dollars?
An expansion of the season, probably.
Cool. Okay.
Because, you know, in the wintertime, there is no way, I don't believe that in the wintertime the house could contribute its fair share. Oh boy, that is really coming on, man. Oh. Excuse me, I gotta actually blow my nose here. At least blind it.
Oh, go for it.
Oh, that's a hot one. I think that's what I would
That's awesome, and I
like to see.
I hope we're taking a step in that direction, in the right direction, with this Jacob Marley Christmas Carol coming up, and you know, It's Wonderful Life. We did a few years ago with you as one and only Mr. Potter, of course. Now
in the Boomtowns.
Oh goodness! Now, of course, we got to do one last thing. I thought might be fun. Now, when people hear Hamlet, I think the characters that initially come to mind are obviously Bernardo, which I know was one of your roles, along with Priest. Am I correct?
Correct.
Fantastic. I thought it would be fun just to brush off the old Shakespeare cobwebs, to relive the opening scene from Hamlet together. Bernardo, Francisco, and just for the audience, let's set the scene real quick. Let's set this. And maybe you can help me with this. This is top of play. Something is rotten in Denmark. We're in the battlements. We're on top of the castle. We're on lookout. There have been some ghostly sightings. There is mist in the air. There is some crazy things happening. Is that fair to say? Anything else you would add for the audience?
You know, and it's actually this part of the play that James told me I was saying it like this, and I needed to say it like this. So, and I'm like, how many ways are there to say who's there? And he's like, about 1 million, probably.
All right. Well, James, if you're watching, here we go. This is we're going to take those notes, and this is how it should be done. So here we go. Get us started whenever you're ready, Scotty.
Who's there?
Nay, answer me. Stand and unfold yourself.
Long live the king!
Bernardo?
He?
You come most carefully upon your hour.
'Tis now struck 12. Get thee to bed, Francisco.
For this relief, much thanks. 'Tis bitter cold, and I'm sick at heart.
Have you had a quiet guard?
Not a mouse stirring.
Well, good night. If you do meet Horatio and Marcellus, the rivals of my watch, bid them make haste.
I think I hear them. Stand, ho! Who's there? I don't know what James is talking about. For me, I just got to do a scene with Laurence Olivier. Scotty, thank you for joining us today. Is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with, or any final thoughts?
Progress, not perfection, I guess, as they say.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us for Hot Ones, Scotty.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Thanks for all you do.
Anything for the CRT, which I've come to regret saying a number of times. Not today. This was great. So thank you, John.
All right. See y'all. Yes, got it. It was awesome.